I am going to discuss fire code and fire prevention. So the three main points that we're going to be focusing on are education, enforcement, and engineering. So when you look at education, the definition would actually be actions that teach, promote awareness, present information, and conduct activities intended to change behavior that increase people's safety from fire. So that would be how you actually educate people on how to be aware and how to prevent the fire from occurring. The definition for enforcement would actually be a systematic approach to adopting community codes and certifying officials with authority to inspect the extent of code compliance and to implement rules and regulation to clarify the application of codes. And engineering would be actions that employ physical science to find solutions for reducing the impact or eliminating the risk of fire that may involve the development of codes, standards, equipment and system, and construction techniques. So to break those down into simpler terms, education to me is the biggest part of fire prevention because people need to know how to not harm themselves or harm someone else, or just the best way to prevent fires from occurring. So education is I would say is the biggest part of a fire prevention unit, because enforcing fire prevention efforts is how you actually minimize fires. Enforcement is how to protect people from harm. Regular inspections are a really good way to make sure that people are following in compliance with the laws of fire safety. If employees violate the laws, then inspections are a good way to make sure that people are doing what they're supposed to. And it's a good way to, surprise, we're here to inspect today, so if somebody does something wrong or whatever, they're going to be held accountable for that. Engineering is the mechanics and the scientific principles behind for fire prevention. So just actually how it works. How code is enforced in my jurisdiction. So I am actually in Mississippi, and in accordance with Mississippi Fire Code, each county which has adopted a fire prevention code shall file an annual report with the state fire marshal's office. Also, a list of codes adopted by counties will be reviewed, and a list will be compiled showing which code provisions are not less stringent than the Mississippi Fire Prevention Code. Rule 7.06 would be annual reporting local fire code requirements, which is where you find that. So the minimum requirements in my area for fire code would be the state fire marshal shall have the authority to deviate from the minimum requirements of the Mississippi Fire Prevention Code. Deviations may occur when enforcement of a specific requirement would cause undue hardship. Deviations may also occur when changes would be permitted, allowing the use of new materials, technology, or equipment which are approved by the Standard Fire Prevention Code or other recognized national standards. Now we'll talk about types of tests that are used to determine fire ratings of certain building materials. So different types would be code prescribed assembly designs, which is floor or roof construction. And then we've got, let's see, engineering analysis method would be combining a comparison of tested building element designs, fire endurance engineering analysis, and the use of alternate methods and materials that are analyzed by an approved source. Another type of test would be the component additive method. And this data can be used to design an assembly with a calculated fire resistance rating of 1 hour. So those are different tests that we can actually use to determine fire ratings of building materials.